Hi, and welcome to another episode of Cut the Monologue, where we are unapologetically loud on, or is it in, this podcast. And I want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been listening to all my episodes since the first episode that I released, which was basically nothing, and just seeing my growth and telling me to keep it up and just recognizing how the podcast is progressing from the first episode till now. So, welcome to the fourth episode of Cut the Monologue. And on this episode, I want to focus on understanding grief. So, I want to talk about understanding grief in my way. And I want to talk about how I learned to manage, so to say. Yeah. So I lost my mom, that sounds a bit cheesy. My mom died when I was 3 years old. And till this day, I feel a void. I feel that there is something that I am missing. I try to understand if that void that I feel is because of the fact that the people around me say that my mom died, or if it's because of the fact that I knew that my mom died, and so automatically I knew that there was a void that was going to exist, or if the void that I always feel is because there is a connection deep down that I am missing. And I say this because it's funny to me on how I can feel this void, yet I have no memory of my mom. It has taken me a while to do this episode because I have been trying to search through my memory, because we all know that sometimes there are traumatic events that happen in our lives and we end up shutting down those memories to a point where they completely do not exist. But when you search for them, they start coming back. But I don't have that. I do not have any known memory of my mom, of any time when she was either holding me or maybe she was feeding me. I do not have any memory at all. I also don't have any pictures of myself with my mom. Yeah, I know, that's sad. So it continuously baffles me on how I can feel this void and feel it so strongly and wish that she would have lived maybe 5 years more, just so that I could have a feeling to always cling on to when she's not here. I do cry. There are those days when I wake up, especially during my birthday month. I always wake up and I'm just like, I wish you were here. I wish you could see how much I have grown and all the things that I have done, because I personally take pride in every single thing that I have done, in every single thing that I have achieved, and that will be a topic for another day. But around that time of my birthday month and around that time of her birthday month, I always wake up and I'm just like, shucks, this sucks, she'd probably be here, and she'd probably call me and be like, happy birthday, on this day I gave birth to you at that time, and this was how the doctors were and all that. Not to say that I don't have that story. I do have that story, because my dad has told me that story countless number of times, but I just wish that I could get her perspective. I wish maybe during my birthday month, if she had lived 5 more years, I would at least have a memory of how my birthday month felt with my mom around. I don't have that. And it could be that it's something I have created in my head, and it constantly gives me this feeling of, I miss this person. But I look at that in a good way. I look at that as in a way of making me know her impact in my life. It just makes me feel that she is important, And I remember years back, like 4-5 years back, people always will tell you about the type of mom she was, and how she was a good woman, and she was this warm lady who always loved having people around, who always loved cooking, and she just had this motherly instinct to her. And I remember there was a time I tried to mimic that. There were times when I tried to mimic my mom from the stories that I had people say of her. Like, people used to say that my mom loved cooking, and there was a time that I was so obsessed with cooking. Not that I do not love cooking, I do love cooking, because I feel like cooking is a family thing. Everyone in my family loves cooking. But at that particular moment, or at that particular time of my life, I was not cooking for my own love of cooking, but I was cooking in a way that I wanted it to feel like I have something in common with my mom, that I can cook like her, I love cooking like her, I love cooking for people. Like, at that point, I was not doing it out of the fact that I love doing it. I was doing it out of the fact that she loved doing it, or people say that she loved doing it, so I'm going to love doing it in a way that she was doing it. You get my gist? And so many things I did around that time revolved around the stories that I had from people about her. And I had to call myself on that. I had to be like, no, this is not it. Because I feel like somewhere along the lines, I kept on, whenever I wanted to make a decision, I would tell myself, like, what would my mom want me to do? If she was alive, what would my mom want me to do? Because I had this notion in my head that if I meet her, I wouldn't want her to tell me that you should have done this like this and not like that. So it constantly filled my mind in terms of, what would my mom want me to do? And that kind of made me lose my identity for a while. It made me live in the shadow of an imagination that I had. Because remember, I don't know this person. I know this person. Even talking about it just makes me stutter. I know this person, but I also don't know this person. And so I had to call myself out on that, and I had to relearn how to go back to being myself. And I had to learn how to not carry that weight of what would my mom have done, or would she still be proud of me if she was here, or is she smiling at me from wherever she is? And I had to call out myself out on that and relearn on how to do things in my own way, in ways that make me happy, in ways that make me feel fulfilled. And that was harsh. I used to feel like I am probably detaching myself from her because of the pain that I felt for not having her. But at the back of my mind, I knew that I had to do it because I couldn't continue centering my entire personality based on a preconceived notion that I have of how someone who was alive, or of how someone who, if I had gotten to know maybe 5 years more, how she would want me to do this thing. And it was so hard. Even right now, 24 years later, I still have it so hard. I guess part of me doing things like my mom is because I wanted to feel like I am still related to her in terms of character, flaws, strengths. I wanted to feel like, yeah, she didn't raise me, she was not here for most of my upbringing, but I still have a connection to her. I wanted people to look at pictures of my mom and say, you look like your mom, you know? I just got teary, just got teary-eyed thinking about that. Because I wanted to feel a connection to her. I wanted to feel like she died when you were young and you didn't get to build this bond with her, but there is a piece of her that's inside of you, or there are pieces of her that are inside of you. I guess that's why I kept mimicking the stories that people kept telling me about her. That was so hard. Around this time that I was going through this phase, my dad was not around. Yeah, he was out on a business trip. And I'm not a really big talker. I'm not a talker of things that I face, you know? And of course, years later, my dad remarried. My dad remarried when I was in class 2. I was around 8 years then, and I remember it was December. Was it December or was it November? My sister had finished her high school studies, and they were coming back home because, we went to high school in schools situated in the rural areas that time. I don't know if right now it can still be called the rural area with all the development that is happening. But so it was around December, and my dad came with my stepmom. I don't know. The transition was hard because all along I have not had this motherly figure to look up to. I've only had my sisters and my dad, and the aunties who would still keep coming home and all of that. So the transition was hard. But I did make a connection with my stepmom years later. This is like maybe 2-3 years. the transition was so hard to accept my stepmom as now part of the family. And I can remember even my older siblings, like at times there just used to be so much friction in the house, you know? And then the friction, just as it appeared, it would disappear again. But years later, it finally blended, so to say. We finally blended with our stepmom and we accepted her. And we lived like one big happy family. And we were happy, you know. At least I can speak for myself. I was happy because I felt like I finally have a mother figure, and I connected with my stepmom in so many ways. We would talk, we would tell each other stories, endlessly. When I used to come back during half-term break or when we closed school, I would tell her stories of so many things that happened in school. It was so much fun, you know? And my stepmom, I also learned so many things from her. So when my stepmom passed away, that one hit me even harder. So I was in my last year of high school. I was in Form 4. And when we were joining Form 4, as the class of 2014, we decided that we do not want to go home for like long holidays and all that. So in March, when the whole school had closed and we had remained behind, it was our own choosing. We wanted to be going home for like at least a week. So I think March 1st, people had gone home, and so our parents were coming to visit us and give us fresh supplies to take us through the remaining weeks. My dad came, and my dad didn't tell me that my stepmom was sick. No, he did. He did. He told me she was, and he told me she was at the hospital, but that she was better. She was getting better, and she was almost going home. Because my stepmom was the one who was supposed to come and visit me. So my dad calls my stepmom's phone so that, I can say hi and all that. And we had a very nice talk. We had a nice conversation. And her voice sounded strong. Like I knew that she was like probably going to go home like in 3 days, maybe in 2, because her voice was like, there was no trace of weakness in her voice whatsoever. But after my dad left, I got super sick, so sick. And I used to play basketball. I was the captain of my high school team. And for that basketball season, I couldn't play full game. I only used to play like the first quarter, and then I would sit on the bench and just like encourage my team from there. So I used to get in either the first quarter or the last quarter. And I got so sick I remember there was one game that I didn't even finish that quarter. I had to be taken out because all of a sudden I just felt like vomiting, and I just suddenly got so weak I couldn't even play. My coach never wanted to put me in any, like, to play in the beginning. Like, he just wanted me to be there because as the captain you need to be there to, like, just give people the strength, the togetherness and all that. But I insisted, like, I loved basketball that much. I always insisted in playing. So that one game I got really sick and I couldn't even finish the first quarter, and I got so thin. And back in high school we were shaving our hair, so my neck was so long. I was not a sight to see, by the way. And we came back to school. We lost that game, by the way. we lost that game so painfully. Like, just a 2-pointer, we would have won. And I remember we went back to school. The game was like on a Wednesday. So when we went back to school on Saturday, my brother came to school to pick me up. And I was like, oh shit, what just happened? And of course, no one knows how to deliver death news. Like, no one knows how to deliver death news. My brother was like, oh, we're going home. Christine passed. That hit me. It hit me so hard. Took a little break, but I'm back. So when my brother told me that it hit me so hard, I was like, oh my god. Not her, like. And so we went home. No, actually, these events are confusing me. The game was on Friday. The game was on a Saturday, and my brother came to pick me like on a Thursday because the burial was on Friday, and I went back to school on Saturday. So my entire fourth year, I went numb. I used to sing, used to rap, and I kind of, in my mourning period, I kind of shut down from that side of me. I couldn't sing, I couldn't rap. The only thing that I could do was I could write poetry pieces. And that is actually my birth of poetry. Because I remember I used to cry during class, and my classmates didn't know what to do because I never ever showed that side of me, that vulnerable side. Like, I mean, yes, I used to cry because, in our high school we used to be punished, we used to be caned, but that's like normal crying. And it got to a point where I got used to canes, so they never really used to feel like painful. But this is a different form of crying. It's a crying of, I can't believe she's gone. And my classmates didn't know what to do. They just used to come and be like, it's gonna be okay, So I became numb. I was in my fourth year. I had to get my head straight because I'm doing this exam that is supposed to like be the north, like in compass directions, north, east, south, west. So this is supposed to be the north, like this is like supposed to be the pointer for how my life is going to unfold, I guess. And I became numb. I turned to writing my pain. I turned to writing poetry pieces. And I would any time I felt like an emotion of pain from losing my Christine would come, I would write it down and just scribble. And for that whole year, I was numb. So when I went back home, because we used to go home for like a week, sometimes 3 days, because we had made this commitment of just dedicating ourselves to books. So when I finally went back home after finishing my exams, that's when it hit me that, like she's gone. And everybody else around me, my dad, my kid brothers, they all seemed like they had already gotten used to that. And so I was now walking into it. And the numbness that I had made myself accustomed to, like that disappeared. And suddenly I could feel again. And I used to cry so much. And I left and came to the city to just not be around that environment. I came back to the city to be with my sister. And kind of helped, because now I was not in an environment that she constantly was, but I still missed her. I remember it took me so long I actually still haven't even deleted my stepmom's number. It's still there. It still exists. Sometimes I look at it. There was a time I used to look at it on WhatsApp, and I see that right now it belongs to a certain lady who sells clothes. I don't call the number. It's just like this last piece that I still haven't let go of. So have I gotten over these two deaths? No. No. Have I grown above the pain? No, I don't think so. What I think has happened to me is that I have had so many good experiences that they kind of overshadow that painful part of my life. But there are moments that pain, I feel it as if it has happened in the moment. And I wish there was a book, that told you how to overcome grief, and it actually works, because I believe there are books, but I don't think whatever they write, if it works. wish there was. I honestly wish there was a book, and whatever was written in that book would work. But I think from my mom's death, I learned how to self-identify myself, especially after this so many years of trying to live by the stories that people told me of her and trying to mimic it. I think realizing that and finding myself, so to say, for lack of better words, I think that was good for me. It enabled me to self-identify myself, even in situations where it's a group setting, we are working in a group and all that. Like, my personality does not get covered. I'm easy to identify. It's easy to know I'm there. It's easy to know I'm not there. And that's something that I live by. I don't regret it. I don't hate it. That's something that I live by. You know, being with my stepmom taught me so many other things that if I start mentioning them, I'll probably go into like an hour, 30 minutes. So sometimes, not even sometimes, there was this time that I used to feel guilty because I felt I was loving Christine more than I did my mom. And I used to feel so guilty. I used to be like, no, your mom had a decision to make and she made the decision and you're here. And that, I remember that time, it sort of made me, this is now before I got used to Christine or before I built a bond with Christine. That kind of made me to have a wall in my relationship with Christine. And I had to look past that. I had to look past it and be like, there is no comparison. They are both, they both played a role. Your mom played a role in bringing you to this world. And the role she played, no one could ever take that. And Christine has also played a role in how you are turning out to be in life. And that guilt that I used to feel, it slowly went away. And that's how I was able to connect with Christine. Yeah, I felt that grief. I felt that guilt for so long. I used to be like, my mom is probably in heaven looking down at me and she's like probably not happy. That guilt was so strong, but I got over it. And so to this day, I have not gotten over about the death of my mom and Christine, and I miss the two of them so much. I miss my mom because I feel like I always ask myself, how would life have turned out? And I miss Christine because I have all these memories of her and the talks that we used to have and the fun. So no, I don't think I've gotten over their death, because if I did, then I wouldn't still be feeling all these emotions. I wouldn't have to take 5 breaks while recording this episode. But I think I have grown a little on the pain. I have so many good things that have happened in my life that sort of covered it. And yes, there are days, there are times when that pain just opens itself up and I feel it, and I never try to ignore it. When that pain comes, I feel it and I cry and I embrace it. And when I am done crying, I wipe away the tears, I take some eye masks, put them on my eyes, depuff my eyes, and I move on to conquer the day. So, thank you for listening to this episode of Cut the Monologue, and I hope you love it. Bye.